Well, I guess since you have a small property and you can't actually hold deer because you don't have bedding, that you might as well just quit hunting because you're going to have zero success. I'm actually kidding when I say that. And in this video, I want to talk about this topic on bedding, whether you have to have bedding on your property. And there's a lot of people making videos about it, and it's a hot topic because it's cool to talk about, that you can actually get a deer to bed on your property. And to get a deer to bed on your property, it's a good thing. But most hunters, most of this stuff, land management, wildlife habitat, and all this different types of things, certain parts of that don't relate to the average person. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people that are making these types of videos have, hundreds of acres, big properties where they have that ability to create bedding, create food sources, and have deer bed on their property, and it makes them a little bit more easier to pattern. For the average guy that only has 5, 10, 15 acres or something like that, they get these ideas in their head that they have to create these bedding on their property to have deer, and nothing could be further from the truth. Now, I've been hunting for 22 years now, and I've seen a lot of different activities take place, different management techniques, and from what I have seen, a deer is going to bed where it's going to bed. Can we entice them to bed in a different spot? Sure. Can we make a bedding area back over here? Sure. Can we make one over here? Will deer bed here? Sure. A deer is going to bed when it gets tired. There's certain spots that a deer like to bed, whether it's in a conifer setting, some pines, or a thick understory brush, some trees you cut down. They might bed up against this deadfall. They might bed over here in that briar thicket. I mean, it could bed anywhere. I've seen deer bed. I've been hunting on a field or something. I've seen deer bed right on the edge of a food plot. I have it on, many different places I've seen a deer bed. Now, there are certain situations where a deer likes a specific area to bed in, and they feel safe there, and they can relate that bedding to food where they can get up. They have a little bit of briars, a little bit of browse that they can browse on, and then they head out to their evening food source, and that's great. Now, on properties where, some of us have, where it's 5 acres, 10 acres, you don't want to go in there and all of a sudden start cutting down these trees and hinge cutting and all these different types of bedding techniques, because what happens is you run out of room to actually hunt that land. You run out of room to have other, management techniques take place that you should be working on instead of focusing on bedding. Now, I'm not saying that on 5 acres or 10 acres that you can't have bedding. You have to look at your property and know what you're missing, whether you're missing food, are you missing cover, are you missing certain types of briars or woody browse or regeneration. You have to assess that on what you're missing. Now, if I have a property that's 5 acres and it's missing food and it's missing bedding, both of them, what am I going to pick? I'm going to pick food, because if I place a food plot on that property, a deer's most likely going to bed off that property, and I'm going to catch that deer coming off that property onto my property to the evening food source, and that's best case scenario. If the property is lacking, if it has food and already, and I'm lacking bedding, am I going to make bedding? Well, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But if you create that bedding and you dedicate a lot of your 5 acres or whatever it is to bedding, you lose spots, you lose space to maneuver around that property, and then you just end up pushing the deer out. Now, when you start getting up to 20 acres, 30 acres, 40 acres, 50 acres, then yeah, you can have separate food sources with separate bedding areas, and you can still, maneuver around that property and access your property without spooking deer. So when you start watching these videos or reading these articles or taking advice from people about, bedding areas and this, I'm not saying that's bad. You just have to assess your property. Not every technique needs to be done on your property. You just have to figure out what you're missing, whether it's food, bedding, cover, regeneration, woody browse, all these briars that we have out in front of us here. You have to assess that, and you may not need bedding on your property. So you have to be careful when you start doing this, because you could end up making your property a lot worse than what it is already. If I had to pick between the two, I would pick food, because majority of your neighbors are not going to be, focusing on land management, because it's only a small percentage of the deer hunting population where, people are actually focusing on soil health and hinge cutting and, timber improvements, and paying attention how they access the lands. It's just a very small percentage of us that's actually doing that. So if you can have that high quality food source, whether it's a food plot or different types of browse, then let that deer bed on your neighbors. They're probably not going to be careful in how they access the land. They're going to push the deer off, or the deer is going to patter them. They're going to bed in a strategic area away from them other hunters, and they're going to know where your palatable, unpressured food source is. And trust me, they will find a spot off-site to bed and make their way to your food plot to give you guys success. Hopefully this video helps you. Any questions, post them down below. Thanks for watching. We're out here enjoying the 50-degree day with a little bit of snow on the ground, and we're shooting videos, walking this property and scouting, and I hope this helps you, and I'll see you guys on the next video.